February the 22nd, 2017. Guys, new information coming in today from Fukushima. Goes back about a week, and you've got 3 different scientists with reports coming in over that period of time. Let's take a look at it. It says scientists fear Fukushima radiation is hitting the U.S. and it's to worsen. A lot of people are very concerned. Experts, billions are being exposed. Guys, that's not just the United States. Reactors will continue to pour water into the Pacific for the rest of time. They were saying that it could be years, even hundreds of years, but now to the end of time, because they have complete meltdown. And you have a water system that it runs underground, comes out of the mountains, runs underground into the ocean, and it ran under Fukushima. It couldn't have been built in a better place if you wanted to create a worldwide disaster where 1/3 of the oceans are almost dead and will now surely die. If you don't think time is very quickly possibly coming into an end as far as the way we know life, you may be sadly mistaken with this news. Now, Dr. Helen Caldicott is saying, as the water flows beneath the damaged reactors, it immerses the 3 molten cores and becomes extremely radioactive as it continues its journey into the adjacent Pacific Ocean. Every day since the accident began, 300 to 400 tons of water have poured into the Pacific. Guys, think about that. It happened March the 11th, 2011, so 2,170 days roughly. And if you average that 300 to 400 tons, you're going to be looking at 760,000 tons of water that contains, according to them, it's numerous radioisotopes, including cesium-137, 134, strontium-90, tritium, plutonium, americium, and up to 100 more. It says they enter the ocean and bioconcentrate by orders of magnitude at each step of the food chain. Tuna, salmon, and other species found on the American West Coast now contain some of these radioactive elements. Fukushima Daiichi will continue to pour water into the Pacific for the rest of time. Now, guys, I mentioned Fox News earlier in a video, and I had said that I was really impressed at the fairness of the way they're reporting what the new administration is doing. It's not an all-out attack like we see from most of the other media outlets. But they, back in February the 8th, they started reporting this, and I'm going to link to the video. I'm not going to play it. It's theirs. But we'll link to it. And it says, radiation at Japan's Fukushima reactor is now at unimaginable levels. One other thing I want to say about this. Now, it may tie into why they're having this problem, and you've seen it on many outlets. But it says, nobody knows who released the substance, but radioactive iodine has been detected across Europe in recent weeks. Now, the U.S. has even launched a plane I saw on one site with new radiation detectors that is being allowed to fly over Europe. The technicians of Europe's informal network of radioactivity surveillance experts, called the Ring of Fire, were the only ones to note the spike in radiation levels. In the second week of January, the alert sounded in the north of Norway, with traces of iodine-131 detected in the air. Other observations followed in Finland, Poland, the Czech Republic, Germany, Spain, and France, according to the French Institute for Radiological Protection and Nuclear Safety. In France, levels of iodine-131 did not exceed 0.31 microbarrels per cubic meter of air. It's 1,000 times less than the levels recorded following the Fukushima nuclear disaster. Guys, we have an Arctic vortex that is drifted out very wide as it moves over Japan and pulls that air back into the northern levels. It's mixing everything and diluting it. But we're getting it not only from underground, but remember, the robots are getting destroyed within hours trying to go into the damaged buildings there. So now with this weather chaos, instead of something possibly new, it may be that this leak is growing so bad. And with the Arctic vortex, and you've seen it on my videos, to where it's normally tight around the North Pole in that area of the Arctic. But now with the solar minimum, guys, it's spread way out. That's why we're getting these wild weather fluctuations across the United States, and have been. But they say that iodine-131 is a radionuclide with a half-life of just over 8 days. That's telling you that it's new. They're concerned that I heard reports that possibly Russia had set off some type of nuclear device in the Arctic, or something had happened up there. Who knows? But I can tell you this. We'll take a quick look at the current Arctic vortex, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. And what they say so far, it to have been detected, must have been released shortly before this. The source of the substance is still unknown. Now, they're saying suspicions are rife. It says, we are leading the inquiry, said John Christopher Garriel from the International Radiation Service there. This means we are essentially reversing the path of the iodine pollution in order to find out where it came from. But taking into account, listen, the weather in recent weeks, it will not be easy to model. Look at this map. Now, this is from Euroactiv.com, which is a climate environment site, and I'll link you there, guys, but this is just showing you the amounts that's being detected in these areas. Now, notice you've got that's well up the Northern Europe coast. You've got England, you've got Ireland down south, but this, and it's not being picked up there, or it's not being reported being picked up there. Now, if it's this far south, all the way down to the Rock of Gibraltar in Spain, then it's highly likely you guys in the UK just are not being told, or either the monitors are not set up to detect this. But let's look at the current Arctic vortex as of today. Now, this is giving us satellite images of the entire northern hemisphere. Here in the lower center is the United States. It goes through Canada, through the Alaskan Aleutian Islands, over Kamchatka, Russia, and here's Japan. Notice the vortex. It has spread this far out. Now, normally it's a little tighter. That's why we are in basically weather chaos. Look down into the southern United States, guys. That's why it's like May getting into June almost with the weather we're having now in February. It's been like that now for a couple of weeks. We've had some storms, but it would warm right back up. But look at a couple other things, and we're going to pull some close-ups. One is here in California, the Pineapple Express. This thing is still feeding. And notice, even as it looks thinner, as far out as here's the Hawaiian Islands, guys, as it gets closer to the shore of the west coast of the United States, these things seem to intensify. Now, it's still building up in here. How much rain we're going to get out of it, I don't know, but they are predicting more rain for the next few days, with maybe a break on tomorrow. Now, let's pull this up a little closer. I'm going to invert the image so that it may make it a little easier to see where the land is, but we're talking about right in this area. Here in the blue outline, you have the island of Japan, again, up through Kamchatka, and then the tips of the Aleutians going into Canada and the U.S. And I've, again, inverted the image, and what you're seeing are the outer edges of the Arctic vortex, again, causing weather chaos everywhere. Weather's flipped upside down almost. You're getting snow in the Sahara this year. Let me back this back. Now, if you look at the map that I showed you showing Europe, and you see the Straits of Gibraltar here, it looks different in this particular image, going in through the Mediterranean all the way up into Israel is here. Here is going out through Suez. But all of Europe is being inundated by this vortex, guys. It's giving us a double whammy. Not only is it spreading the weather out and giving us this chaotic systems that we see everywhere, but it is now that we're getting ready, record radiation from Fukushima. And remember, it's not just the ocean. The robots can't go in. They were talking about thousands of times more radiation as far as what humans could deal with per hour was being emitted from those buildings. People couldn't live very long. It was almost instant death. You wouldn't last very long at all. But this is the vortex. The vortices of the vortex is going right over that island, spreading it across the United States, Canada, all across Europe, guys, back through Asia, back over Russia, China, keeping it circulating. So you've got, what did they say, 7 to 8 days. You can see where it's coming from. Now, many have said that there's a possibility of somewhere in the Arctic, someone could have detonated a nuclear device. I don't know, but I do know about this. But we're watching it, guys. It's a heads up. Keep an eye on the Oroville Dam situation. You've got flooding everywhere. Right now, they're trying to keep the levels of the dam moderated at Oroville. All the other ones look like they're so full that some of them are overflowing. But we don't have that. We're not seeing that inflow yet. I'll update that this evening. But guys that watch this, again, they're saying now that they may not can stop this and it will flow into the end of time. And when you've got this much pollution, possibly coming from Fukushima in the air, and we know 300 to 400 tons per day of every known radioactive cocktail you can imagine, poured into there for 2,170 days. Now, guys, if you go to the website called theaviationist.com, here's your address. This particular article says the U.S. Air Force deploys WC-135 nuclear sniffer aircraft to UK as spike of radioactive iodine levels are detected in Europe. Here's a picture of the plane. Now, what the article's saying is by David Cinciati from theaviationist.com. It says the U.S. Air Force WC-135C Constant Phoenix might be investigating a spike in radioactive levels in Norway. Those are the ones that I reported and showed you the nations that they were being picked up from. But it's speculations that the release of the radionuclide could be the effect of a Russian nuclear test. Guys, that could be. I have no way of knowing that. I can only show you the evidence I found. It says this Air Force WC-135 is a nuclear explosion sniffer. It says it's known as a sniffer or weather bird by its crews, can carry up to 33 personnel. It says effluent gases are gathered by two scopes on the side of the fuselage, which in turn trap fallout particles on filters. The mission crews have the ability to analyze the fallout residue in real time, helping to confirm the presence of nuclear fallout and possibly determine the characteristics of the warhead involved. That's what it's designed for, but it can pick up anything. And it is kind of coincidental that this 131 is being picked up around the European side of North America. Possibly here, we may not be getting any information from it. But if it's there and it's from this source that I'm talking about, it covers everything in the Northern Hemisphere. But it says the tracking over the UK, and this is coming out of just somebody else confirming it. I'm not trying to give any information away on the U.S. plane, but the Civil Military Air Group says that they were tracking, and this was tracked actually on the civilian radar also, guys, that anybody can go to. But it says that they were tracking over the UK, the U.S. Air Force WC-135 Constant Phoenix nuclear explosion sniffer, February 17th. So it kind of goes hand in hand. And I just wanted to throw that third piece of the puzzle in. We know that the radiation has been reported in Europe on many ground bases. We know the planes there trying to help the situation, help determine what it is. And so what I think maybe is the problem with Fukushima. One other quick note. This Sunday, February 26th, at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. on the East Coast, I'm going to be a guest on PaulBegleyProphecy.com. It's going to be a great Sunday evening, and this is going to be happening, this solar eclipse. Now, it's going to be mainly over South America, and we're going to try to link to some different ground-based telescopes that will allow us to view it during that time. I'm not sure if we can get it. We may just get some still images. But there's been a lot of speculation about why so many diplomats are going to the Antarctic. And if you think about this from a celestial standpoint, you're seeing in the white dot, guys, the moon, and it's blocking the sun from our view. And the orange shadow is the dead center of it. You're going to get a ring of fire. But this would be a perfect opportunity for these super sophisticated telescopes in Antarctic to get an unblocked view with very little light pollution of objects around our sun from their vantage point. Just think about what I'm saying. It's like the ecliptic disk on the Lascaux satellites, guys. It's a heads up. Be safe.